want to talk to you about the scandal surrounding the drug t-becdine. For those of you who aren't familiar with this, t-becdine is an antibiotic and antiviral compound that has been used to protect children by immunising them against mumps, measles, chickenpox, rubella, meningitis and a whole host of other killer childhood diseases. Unfortunately, it's recently come to light that as many as 0.5% of the batches of t-becdine used worldwide have been contaminated in some way. And children dosed from these defective batches have experienced severe side effects arising from disruption of brain function. Affected children become withdrawn and depressed, and many contemplate and even attempt suicide. The long-term side effects are such that studies show these problems will persist well into adulthood, often for the rest of the person's life. Now, the scandal is not just the harm done to the children, but that the board of the pharmaceutical company that produces the drug, Catanav, not only knew of the problems, but used coercion and threats to prevent the issue from being exposed. Worse than that, when defective batches of the drug were identified, the company still allowed them to be used. There was no product recall. The worry was that it would damage the reputation of the company and have an adverse impact on the share price. Now that all of this has come to light, some people are demanding that those responsible are called to answer. In spite of documentation to the contrary, company emails showing that the board not only knew of problems with these batches of the drug, but discussed the issue in detail and came up with the policy for managing the situation, the CEO and other board members of Catanav are denying any knowledge or responsibility. Many on the board are claiming that it was the plant site managers who were responsible for quality control. And this is in spite of a leaked company-wide memo from the board instructing the site managers to continue with distribution even if contaminated batches were detected in the production run. Any managers who failed to comply would be fired with complete loss of all benefits. There have been claims from the board and shareholders that the growing public outcry is a personal attack on the CEO of the company, given that he's often unpopular because of his outspoken personal views. Others have argued that drugs like thalidomide have also had side effects, and that cigarette companies are still allowed to trade in spite of evidence for the danger that their products pose to the public. Further defence from company spokespeople is that it's unfair to focus on the problems arising from the use of t-becdine when the benefits of immunisation are taken into account. And this is in spite of there being no clinical evidence for doses of t-becdine being effective in prophylaxis. In fact, some opponents of the drug have gone so far as to claim that no such compound with the described chemical structure actually exists, something strenuously denied by Catanav, whose huge profits rely on the marketing of this single product. During the scandal, as wave after wave of revelation has broken across the globe, not one of the leaders of the main three political parties here in the UK has spoken out against the board of Catanav. And in fact, the CEO has been invited to Britain as a guest of honour at an event later this year to discuss the role of multinational corporations in the globalised economy. Now, of course, neither Catanav nor the drug t-becdine actually exist. But let's just imagine for a few moments this story is actually true. What do you think of the situation I've described? Would you be appalled if our government remained silent in the face of such reckless and criminal negligence? Do you think that the board of Catanav should be held to account for the damage that their product has caused? Do you think the board of Catanav should be prosecuted for promoting a product that they knew was dangerous, but covered up because they didn't want to damage the company's reputation, and instead preferred to put the welfare of their shareholders' pockets first? What about if the proportion of contaminated batches wasn't 0.5%, but instead closer to the company's own reckoning of between 1.5% and 5%? With the lives of hundreds of thousands of children across the world in ruins, and those of their families, I'd expect that most people would feel that something should be done about an organisation that behaves this way. Isn't it strange then that here, in the real world, things operate so differently?